Okay, Max Spiers, I want to share some insight that I have on him and why I personally think, first of all, he didn't care about people at all when you read his energy. And second of all, why he was very blatantly controlled opposition. And so I actually read on it twice because I was like, okay, I'm going to read on it once. And then a few days later, I read on it again. And you just get different types of insights, but they actually do very much correlate to each other. And so the first time when I read on it, what I actually was wondering is it's this entire thing of whether this guy is really dead, because it wasn't really clear the way he died. Was the body really found? Did they just shove some other strange body in there? Is he really dead? That was my main question. And so I read on it once and I was asking, is Max Spiers dead? And what I saw was really interesting. I actually saw his body, so meaning his consciousness or his clone body, whatever you want to call that. I saw it in this underground facility, similar to where you see all these celebrities, all these political figures. Sometimes it's like a resting place somehow, but what I saw was he was in this underground vault, like it was this metal type vault or underground lab, and they were doing lab experiments on his body. And I was like, oh, okay, makes sense. And then when you actually go look him up, Max Spiers and everything, you see that some people are calling him a super soldier. And so that made a lot of sense because with super soldiers, they just do a whole bunch of experiments on them, meaning, yes, I actually do think he's dead. I don't think he's alive anymore, especially after reading on it a second time. Because at first, initially, I thought, okay, maybe he's not dead. Instead of floating around in Poland or Great Britain, he's just somewhere in South America, or he's somewhere where he can't be found because he had two sons and everything. And maybe he's just having like a second life somehow. But it does appear he is dead. However, he did not get out. Absolutely not. Quite the opposite. He's trapped in an artificial soul trap, which I'll explain in a moment too. He did not get out at all. Didn't even have any interest in getting out because he's controlled opposition. He just parroted the script that they gave him, similar to Ike and also similar to Donald Marshall and similar to all these other super soldiers that are out there. So I don't know. I mean, Jordan Sather, I think, is a super soldier too, right? Like all these people, the super soldier people. And even if he wasn't a super soldier in that sense, he was still part of this entire group. And so, no, I don't think he had any interest in getting out. I don't think he even cared about people at all. And you can see that in the micro movements when you analyze this interview. And so that was the first impression that I had. Okay, so they're doing lab experiments on his body, meaning on his consciousness somehow. It could be very well one of his clone bodies. That's how it just works. How the way Donald Marshall describes it, even though Donald Marshall himself was controlled opposition, it's very true. They give you a lot of truth. Like Ike, Marshall, him, they give you a lot of truth. He told you about a soul trap, but he also told you it's an artificial soul trap, that they're using technology. And so in the traditional sense, there's more going on here than people want to dive deep in that entire soul trap community. And that's the problem because you're hearing so many different things like from these controlled opposition people. Then you have these smaller channels who are confusing the heck out of even more this topic. And at the end of the day, no one really knows what's going on. And your consciousness is just kind of being toyed with. And this really hurts, especially for people who are trying to exit out of this reality, who are unaliving them, thinking they can get out when they don't know what they're up against. And I want to tell you one thing. I'm going to have a separate video on this, where people go when they die. The tunnel of light is not the only thing that you're going to encounter when you die. There are many other things that you're going to encounter. So actually, with the last few views that I've had on a person who actually unalived themselves, they did not have a tunnel of light at all. And they're also not out of here. So I just want to put that out there for people who are trapped in this entire mentality that the only way out is to commit suicide or whatever. And I have this video on how suicide is a program in and of itself. 99% of the time it's going to be entities around you telling you to do it because they want you out. They want you to exit out. So back to Max Spiers, because this is actually really important. Okay, so that's the first piece of insight that I got. And I was like, okay, so it seems he is dead. Seems there's something else going on though. There's a different program here. And then I got really curious. So I started looking up. I get a lot of insight when I view people's videos, when I look at the micro movements. My psychic senses are like on high alert, high alarm these days. And so the first alarm and alert that I had, because I wasn't really digging deep into this material, I just knew the story that, okay, he had a son or two. He somehow they unalived him somewhere in Poland. I guess it was Poland, somewhere like that, something like that. Okay, interesting. That's all I really knew. I didn't really know what in particular he talks about all the time. A lot of people, I want to put this out there too, for people who are following him, which I'm not sure people who are following this channel actually used to follow him, but I want to put this out there. A lot of people accused him of plagiarizing other people's works and selling it as his own. So just putting that out there for you too, that a lot of stuff he actually talks about is just another script. Okay, it's not actually his own insight, which really this rings true, because when I analyze his micro movements in one of the interviews, well, let's go to the next one, and this one in particular, and I'm not going to play it, but I'll give you a link and I'll put it below. The micro movements were that of a liar, like basically blatant liar, that this is not his own material, that he's actually mocking others. He couldn't give less F's about your consciousness. He's just parroting a script. So when I first looked him up, I found it very strange that someone who supposedly discloses so much truth is featured all over BBC. And this is exactly the same issue that I have with Ike. I also have other proof that Ike is controlled opposition, though. But basically, when they're featured on BBC, you already know they're controlled opposition, because no one in their right mind gets featured on BBC. Like, everyone would be suppressed. If this is the real truth, you would not even, like, your channel's not growing. You know, you're constantly suppressed, like there's constant stuff thrown at you. They're constantly trying to make your life miserable. So there's more to this, you know, that's already a huge sign saying, okay, he's controlled opposition, because BBC was extremely interested in pushing the story. There's a lot of stuff on him, on the conspiracy of him dying and everything, which it doesn't even matter how he died, in my opinion. I mean, they knew very clear when they wanted to exit him out. He exited out on July 16th. That the 16, the number 16, according to one of the most ancient numerologies, is the Tower card. They're using these type of numbers to their own advantage, because it's all part of this matrix reality that we're in. So they exited him out on a Tower card. The Tower card meaning, you know, the worst. They didn't exit out on the Death card. What is it, the Death card? No, it's the Tower. 16 is the Tower card. But you get my point, right? Like, this was already all the symbolism in it. And so that's what happened, first of all. And then you look him up, there's this short where he actually explains the artificial soul trap. But when you go to this one interview and you put it, you can actually do it right here in the settings somewhere. You put it on the slowest Mo setting ever. You can even do this here on YouTube. You don't need a specific device to do that. You can see the micro movements. He's trying to hide a smirk and a smile. He's not serious about what he's saying, is my point. When he's like, it's kind of the way I saw it, like really like a clown show, that, you know, he's basically just mocking the people who are interviewing him, the people who are following his stuff. So what I wrote down is Max Spiers, he's fake. He does not care about others. There's no altruism in his messages. He talks about the tech soul trap, and this artificial trap has trapped his consciousness elsewhere. And he just, for him, it's just a clown show. Like, I strongly believe this person was ready to go. The way they tortured him, like mentally, emotionally, psychically, in the astral, everything, and his other clone bodies that they clearly have of him, he was ready to go. And I'm actually not even sure, because at first I thought, oh, but he had 2 sons. He must have cared about his son somehow, but I'm actually not sure he did, to be honest with you. Like, it's just strange to read on that, but I'm not sure he really cared that much about his kids. I don't think he cared about the partner or ex-partner he was with at all anymore. I just want to put that out there too. I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but this is a person who was just ready to go. He knew it was his time to, he knew that they were going to do something to him too. He knew he's just one of those players in the game. Call him a super soldier, call him whatever. And they just know they're not going to live forever. So he was just another player, a chess player, parroting the script that they gave him. How they recruit these people, I have no idea. I have no clue how they actually come up with these people, how they're groomed. What I do have to say is his mom, who you see right here in the middle, I do strongly believe she left her son, his son, her son. She left her son, and that she is grieving her son, because she's a typical mom. You know, moms care about their kids, obviously. But I'm also not sure if it's the same situation, you know, with Elon Musk's mom. She kind of groomed him to be who he is now, if it's that, or if it's just something else. But there's something also strange going on with her energy. I just want to say that too. I'm not talking bad here about the dead or whatever. Now, what's also interesting is once I played his shorts, which you'll see here, I got this ad with Humanity, and this is basically like a fake AI robot. And I knew instantaneously it's just another sign that that's what he is. He's just another fake. There's no heart with these robotoids. There's no heart with these clones. They're just fake, completely fake. They have several clones of themselves. A lot of them are stored in this underground vault area, which we personally, as people, as souls, as regular, earthlings walking this earth here, we're never going to have access to those anyhow, unless you're a celebrity. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But we're never going to have full access to whatever the horrendous stuff they do down there anyhow. And it doesn't matter. But just the fact that we know a little bit about it, and a little bit is disclosed by these controlled opposition people like Marshall, like Ike, like all of these people, that shows you a lot of all the underground stuff that's happening. And so for me, very clearly, I'm recording this, huge headache, by the way. They don't want this to be recorded. The more I tapped into his energy, the more it was clear he's one of those. He's on the same page that Ike is. A lot of his stuff is not his own. He's giving a script. He's parodying a script. He's just like, his micro movements are very insincere. I wish I could actually play it in slow-mo to show you, but I really want this video to get out. I don't want it to be censored, and I'm not sure if it is, if I just quote like a random interview, so you can look at it yourself. I'll put the link below. It's this hidden smirk sometimes that comes out. It has nothing to do with his charisma. It has nothing to do with him nervous in front of a camera. It's literally the micro movement saying, I'm a liar and I don't give an F about you. That's how I at least very clearly interpreted that. And I trust my psychic senses over anything. And they're a lifesaver. They've been saving me so much over these past few months and year for sure. So then you have this short where he's talking about Soul Trap destroyed. And it's just a small cutout. And I think they're trying to emphasize that the Soul Trap has been destroyed or whatever. No, this is incorrect. But what they're talking about is, did you know about devices down here that catch your soul? And then they say super soldier explained. So that's what made me think he's probably a super soldier. So there's an artificial soul trap. And I think this probably deserves another video in and of itself. But there's this artificial soul trap that he is now a part of because his soul is being recycled over and over again somehow, not necessarily in the human form, but somehow they're creating these consciousness, these AI worlds with whatever consciousness he had. And that's what I saw when I saw the body in this underground vault. And so he's talking about how they're having this tech to recycle people over and over again. And I do think that's very true. Now, the question here is, they have an artificial soul trap. Is this the real soul trap, though? Is there even a real soul trap? But I think we will discuss this in another video because it is quite extensive, and there's a lot that goes into this. But yeah, of course, I mean, there's this artificial thing. We know they have the technology to do this. They've had this technology in Hawaii too. I had a person in Hawaii who reached out to me at this point, it's 5 years ago, back in 2020. She was talking about how they're putting all these towers up because Hawaii, for people who don't know, it's US military, similar to how a lot of other islands in the Mediterranean are like British military or other types of military. And so Hawaii is that US military type of standpoint. You also have NASA, everything there, depending on the island. And on one of the islands, I don't know if it was Oahu or a different one, she was telling me how, and she's native Hawaiian, I just want to clarify that. She was talking about how for some Hawaiian souls, it's according to the traditional belief, the traditional Hawaiians, not like the white Hawaiians that came from California or whatever. No, but the ones that were born there that have the lineage and the blood origin and everything there, the ancestry in it. The belief is to enter the afterlife or the next level or whatever you're entering when you die, you need to jump off this cliff energetically as a soul. When you pass away in the astral, you have to jump off this cliff. Now, the US military comes in, builds up this huge tower, and that is the traditional spot these traditional ancient souls would want to jump off. And the natives are very targeted. They've been targeted everywhere, no matter where you go, like Native Americans, Indians, call them whatever, the Maori, the Aborigines. There's a sacredness to people who are earth keepers and who honor the earth in that way. And so doing that, trying to trap the souls through this artificial technology, that is one way to do it, especially with the native souls. And then obviously there's other type of tech. So he's talking about one type of tech that they have. I think it's clear that that exists. At least for me, it's been clear for at least 5 years after hearing that. But this has nothing to do with the other types of soul trap theories others are talking about. This is like something else. This is like a tech soul trap that you can get out of very clearly. Okay. Like very easily too, once you're aware of this. And so he fell victim to that. He's definitely in it. He didn't get out. He didn't go anywhere. Absolutely not. He's part of the game. You know, he's just another pawn in the chess game. And that's what I got on him. Then I read on Ike again because people get really upset about Ike for whatever reason. And, you know, I really wish I could put in a painting or something how I see these people when I see their energy in pictures and videos. But basically, when I was looking at this particular interview, I'll put it below too. The more I was looking at him, the more plastic he seemed, like some sort of celebrity, you know, like Brad Pitt in that sense, like very plastically, eyes that weren't alive and barely an aura. And so for me, I think in this interview, it's not even him. It's another one of his clones, and the same clones that Donald Marshall here in this picture discloses David Icke has. And so that, for me, that was clear. Okay, yes. And then someone left a comment on one of my Icke videos saying like, was it Janine Archer or whatever? Like he did atrocities to her and whatever. Yeah, I do believe it. I do believe this man is capable of it, but he has several different clone bodies. And what you're seeing in the interviews are different clones. So this is very clearly a clone. I saw that when I was looking at the interview. I'm not going to play it once again because I do want this video to get out there. I don't want it to be censored due to copyright or whatever. So you can look at it yourself. And then also, and once you see it, you can't really unsee it. So for me, it's clear when I look at his face right now. I know what he does. What else did I want to say? I forgot. Okay, so that's what I had to say on Ike. Okay, and oh yeah, right. When people are featured on BBC, he's featured on BBC News. Do you seriously think this is not controlled opposition? Like, in what world do you actually live where someone's featured on BBC News or a CNN or whatever else and they're not? I mean, come on. Like, this is like basic kindergarten level. You know, it doesn't even deserve an explanation, but I guess for some people, this is just not clear. This person's not censored. He's controlled opposition. So then you go to Marshall, and with Marshall, I looked at a few of his stuff, especially the interviews. First of all, he's always fuzzy. He's always blurry. And it always seems that he's like in a prison-like environment. And so for me, that always, when I catch up in energy, like, especially when someone's a psychic reader or someone talks about spiritual topics, or someone talks about topics like this, like truth or community, when they're fuzzy and blurry, their energy is compromised somehow. There's some sort of overlay over their energy. That's how I see it. And it takes a lot to work on your energy to make it very clear and very sharp. But basically that's what I see. Very weak energy field, and very fuzzy. So he's very controlled too. So he does disclose the truth, the same that Ike disclosed the truth, the same that Max Spiers discloses the truth. I'm forgetting all the names right now. But his energy is always fuzzy. He always looks like he's in a weird energetic prison. And that's probably where they're keeping him. Okay, so that's what I had to say on Marshall. And then sometimes I still get these comments in regards to West Penra. So I'm just gonna read what I got on West Penra because that was also interesting. First of all, this picture looks okay, where my mouse is here on the left. This one looks completely blurry and out there. Like, why would you even have a picture like that online? You know, these look very different energetically, almost demonic to me. And here he looks a little bit like a gremlin or goblin or something. So let me just read here what I got on Wes. So what did I have on Ike? David Icke was featured on BBC. He's not censored at all. He looks like a plastic figure with glass eyes. Could very well be several clones of him, almost like no soul in his body. And Donald Marshall, very blurry, fuzzy energy. A lot of these truthers have very blurry, not clear energy. That's the main issue I have. When you read energy and you pick up on so many different clues and cues and everything, when they don't have clear energy, it always means they're compromised somehow. Okay. So see this energy, my energy is clear as a complete, you know, opposite example. Like it's not like this. It's not like Donald Marshall, whatever, but you'll see that when you go to interviews. So, and I don't even consider myself a truther or a controlled opposition. I also want to put that out there. I actually want to dig through the truth. So with Wes Penry, he had some strange demonic energy, some strange energy in a lot of his YouTube thumbnails. Sometimes when he posts video music on some of his stuff, I don't know if it was on his website or BitChute, a lot of that video music is actually out of tune, like completely out of tune. And for me, that means there's a disharmony and imbalance going on with this person. Also on BitChute, it looks like, I think this is the thumbnail on BitChute, it looks like some sort of entity. Like he looks like a gremlin or a goblin, like just like a demonic clown. He also has a very strange Eastern European accent, weird demonic culture, reminded me of like Dracula or other vampire rituals they do there. It's hard to find purity. So I don't have an issue with Eastern Europeans at all, but there is some really strange energy going on in Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, maybe Czech Republic, possibly Albania, like those areas, you know, the Balkans, the other Eastern Europe, like there's some very strange entities and energies floating around in that area. And what I picked up on him is, I don't even know if he's from there, but it's kind of with that, like the lineage he's from has some weird vampiric Dracula type energy. I don't even know if he's from, what is Transylvania, wherever that is. What is Romania, right? I don't even know if he's from there or if it's just some similar entity or lineage he's from, but did not get good vibes from this guy at all. Absolutely not. And I'm not saying this to discredit him or anything. It's just my impression that I get. And this is why I wouldn't follow any type of truth or mistruth that these people put out there, because energetically there's a disharmony, there's an imbalance, and I can pick up on that. And for me, that is extremely important. And that's why I also think I'm not deceived by this stuff, unlike others who are still following, you know, David Icke here or Max Spiers or whatever, even though these are really fake people, really imbalanced people, and they're all just controlled by these entities that want to bring a certain agenda out. So I think we covered quite a bit in this video. I'm going to leave it at that. I hope this helps someone who is curious about them. You can share your own impressions on it. I know people commented on the Icke video and also the Wes Penra video, how his energy is just really not great. And I have to agree. Okay, guys, have a good one.